Hey everybody, this is John from /bash, and today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and ring that notifications bell so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, Karen secretly films me jogging, tries to get me fired for being too slow. Let's jump right in. I recently had an emergency appendectomy and recovery has been slow. I had to take time off from my own athletics, but worse, from coaching in the kids' sports program I'm involved with. The experience made me step back and realize I've really built my whole identity around being active and healthy, so the hit my physical abilities took as a result of being sick, and the healing process has made me feel lost. I've been working to regain the joy I used to experience from exercise without going, "Oh, you used to be so much faster with that," or "Your technique used to be so much stronger," or "You don't fit in anymore," or whatever else, and just enjoy myself regardless of the level I'm at. But ironically, the anxiety about not being able to do what I used to has made regaining those abilities difficult. It made me self-conscious about exercising in public spaces, but I was starting to finally get over it as friends convinced me the source of the concerns were all in my head. There's no way to get back to it other than training, so despite the anxiety, I started running again as soon as the doctors approved it. I went to the local track and did a few slow laps each morning, building up speed every few days, and I've only just been authorized to add some sprints and bodyweight strength training to the mix. Occasionally there were other people at the track, but I didn't really notice because I run with headphones on and try to zone out in these lighter sessions. Well, little did I know my friends were wrong. It was not all in my head. I was being watched, and more than that, I was being judged. My absolute catastrophic level worst nightmare at the stage of building back my strength and speed. On Friday, I was setting up for practice at the kids program, and the head coach asked me into his office because a parent had a complaint. A parent I didn't know too well, Karen, was there, and he said she had specific complaints about me. The meeting almost didn't happen because of Karen's initial refusal to put on a mask, required in our facilities for now, but eventually her desire to tell on me for whatever she thought she had on me overrode her freedoms to infect everyone. I was a bit nervous, as anyone is, being called in to meet with their boss over a complaint, but I figured it was a classic case of, "My kid should start more," or "I know my kid tried out as a midfielder, but I want him or her to switch to defense." That kind of rules don't apply to me thing. But instead, I sit down in the office and Karen is playing my boss a video of me running on the track that she filmed from afar. It's surrounded by stadium-style risers. I was horrified, both because no one is ever totally used to seeing themselves on video, and because I was just embarrassed about how slow I was. But most importantly, because why was a virtual stranger, I'd met her personally maybe 4 times ever, filming me while I ran on my own time at a private facility? She then went on to explain that her 8-year-old son, one of the players on my squad, was lapping me in the video and insisted the coaches need to hold themselves to higher athletic standards than the young players if they want to prepare them for college teams. Again, her son is 8. Apparently, her son would sometimes be running on the track while her older child was practicing on a nearby field. I never noticed. The kid is still relatively new, and I don't pay much attention to the other people on the track. My boss patiently but firmly explained to Karen that my physical abilities are not the parents' concern and all personnel are closely managed by the head coaches who understand each unique situation and what's appropriate, and that her son wouldn't be impacted. Karen then went on to say my being out of shape was probably connected to why I'd been taking so much time off lately. Technically yes, it is because I was in the hospital, and complaining that the personnel changeover isn't good for the kids. My boss again reiterated that the head coaches hadn't changed or taken any time off, and that I was still one of the most skilled in the area I instruct, so this was not her concern. She asked if there was someone else she could speak to, but he explained that he was the owner and founder of this program, so no, there was not. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what had happened to me or even alluding to a health issue to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her just how ridiculous she was being, and keep her tuition dollars in our program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, "Well, maybe you should furlough her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him." My boss respected what I was trying to do, but made clear we weren't going further with that strategy to avoid setting a precedent of sharing coaches' personal circumstances. Telling her why people take time off or what their health status may be is not her concern, because the program manages that and makes appropriate decisions. She kept kicking up a fuss, but the coach finally told her he had to get back out on the field, back to her son and everyone else's kids. She started physically leaving, but continued fussing about how she was not satisfied and would not be recommending us to other parents. Pro tip: not the way to conduct yourself with the people who make recommendations to scouts concerning family culture and team interaction. The coach wasn't preparing to leave. Instead, he stopped her in her tracks to tell her if she was found to be surveilling or otherwise harassing any staff members again, she would be permabanned from the program. No games or practices, no team social events, no presence in our buildings, and no clemency. So that was pretty satisfying. Her son is a good, average kid, and I'm glad the consequences were focused on booting her out rather than limiting his opportunities to have fun playing. So then we went out and had a great, happy, safe practice. This was still a pretty upsetting event for me personally though, and I'll never unsee that discouraging video of me running, but it was ultimately reassuring to know the other staff have my back. Leaving Karen in the dust is just another step on my road to recovery. In story 2, an entitled mother cries over French fries. A little backstory here: when I was younger, we would celebrate either of my grandparents' birthdays by spending most of the day there, have dinner together, and then go home. Neither of my grandparents were exactly great cooks, so they would always order dinner for the occasion. The grandchildren would get French fries and the adults usually got Chinese food. As a kid, I certainly was not complaining. Now, something you need to know is that my dad has 2 sisters, my aunts. I absolutely love his youngest sister, and I have always had a close bond with her. There is a large age difference between myself and her children, so I have babysat them from the time since they were 6 months old. My dad's middle sister is a different story altogether. To use a description my British friends will be familiar with, they are scum class. Their house was always filthy to the point where there was a stack of used diapers bunched under a sofa, cigarette butts on the floor, clothes not being washed. You get the picture. Now, for some godforsaken reason, she spoiled her children absolutely rotten, perhaps to compensate for the fact that she wouldn't offer them basic hygiene. Anything those children wanted was handed to them on a dingy and dusty silver platter. Now for the story. We were celebrating my granddad's birthday. Enter cast, me, good guy granddad, entitled aunt's crotch spawn. I am about 12 at the time and the oldest of all the grandchildren. This means I have been granted a coveted position at the adult table whilst the children play in the front room. My granddad is discussing what we should order for food this particular time. As per usual, the Chinese takeout menu makes an appearance. Me, feeling particularly responsible and eager to prove I belong at the adult table, offer to take down the orders. The adults in the family rattle off their order one by one, and I make sure to diligently note down what everyone wants. I'm not going to lie, 12-year-old me felt powerful. Next, it's time to take the orders for the children. I ask good guy granddad if I can go ask them myself and take it down. He gives me a big grin and ushers me along. Now I set to the task with the fervor of a missionary who has just landed on the shores of a heathen land. I ask my brothers and each of my cousins, yes, that includes entitled Aunt Spawn, what they would like for dinner. Now this gets noted down neatly, even including the name of each person behind their specific order. I run back to good guy granddad with a sense of pride, as if I had finished my first novel rather than wrote a glorified shopping list. He runs through the list with me and nods approvingly. He asks if I want to be the one who places the order, and boy do I. As I reach for the phone, entitled Aunt decides this is her moment to shine. She yanks my carefully curated list out of my hand and not so quickly reads through it. Moments later, I receive a glare that could have made Ho Chi Minh whimper. Apparently, I have made a grievous mistake. Why is there only 5 portions of fries on here? I'm confused. Because there are only 5 children who are going to eat fries. You must be stupid. Can you not count? I can count. There's me, both of my brothers, and your children. What about your youngest cousins? Well, one of them is 4 months old and can't have solids, and the other one doesn't like fries, so he is eating something different. She rolls her eyes and snorts with derision. What about my babies? 1 portion of fries is not going to be enough. These are adult portions. They always give us way too much food, and then we have to throw it away after dinner. At this point, entitled aunt tries to snatch the phone away from me so she can make the call herself. This was her big mistake. I was, and to this day still am, a particularly stubborn person. Couple that with the fact that I did not have a lot going for me as a child, but I had my brain, so insulting my intelligence was not something I took kindly to. I duck under her arm and race to the other side of the table, snatching the list as I go. I am not ordering more food than is enough. Give me that list, you little brat. Do you want to spoil my father's birthday and make people go hungry? I am not ordering more food. This is enough. This back and forth continued in the same sort of way for another 15 minutes, with my good guy granddad looking on rather bemused, shooting me the occasional wink. Meanwhile, entitled aunt is getting more and more irate as I calmly keep telling her no. By the end, she is screaming. Her face is red and blotched with a matching vein ready to burst on her forehead. So I do the only logical thing. I run into the bathroom with entitled aunt in hot pursuit. At this moment, it has become my sole mission to sabotage this woman. I lock the door and dial the number for their takeaway place. Entitled aunt is screaming, demanding I open the door right now. I reply, I'm on the phone. I loudly and very clearly state my order to the takeaway place and give them good guy granddad's name, whilst entitled aunt is banging on the door. When I am finished, I unlock the door and walk past her with a smirk that split my face in half. I go back to good guy granddad and hand him the phone, delivering the message that dinner will be ready to collect in about 15 minutes. He ruffles my hair and tells me, thanks, sweetheart. Entitled aunt, who has stuck to my heels like a bad smell, looks at this, loses whatever was left of her composure, starts sobbing loudly. She complains to good guy granddad what a horrible child I am and that she should call the takeaway place back and rectify my order. Good guy granddad is done with this in about 2 seconds. He levels her with a look and calmly states, entitled aunt, you have lost in more ways than one. Get yourself together or go home. Entitled aunt locks herself in an upstairs bedroom for the rest of the evening and refuses to speak to anyone. Food arrived about 20 minutes later, and as predicted, we had more than enough to feed everyone. This is John from /bash. Please hit that like button, comment below to help with the almighty YouTube algorithm, and make sure you have subscribed and have notifications on so that YouTube can let you know when my next video drops. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.